In the southwestern state of Montana, not far from the Beaverhead Deer Lodge National Forest, there is a small, lovely farm owned by a man named Thomas, where the grasslands stretch out endlessly and the air is fresh all year round. This farm is nestled between towering mountains, where dense forests cover and clear streams meander like silver silk. Thomas, a middle-aged man with silver hair and warm eyes, has been attached to this land for decades, considering the farm as his whole life. He often wears simple moss-green work clothes and old leather shoes, showing both simplicity and the diligence of a simple farmer. Surrounding the farm is a long barbed wire fence, the main purpose of which is to prevent wild animals from destroying his grasslands and cattle. However, Thomas did not harbor any ill feelings towards the animals of the mountains and forests, because he understood that they also needed a living environment and were just making a living in a natural way. The forest near the farm contained many wild animals, including a pair of bears, a muscular mother bear and a small bear cub with soft brown fur. The mother bear had gentle eyes but deep inside still had a hint of wildness, while the bear cub always followed her mother, curiously exploring the world around her. Local people sometimes saw the mother and cub lurking at the edge of the forest, quietly watching human activities but not approaching too closely because of their self-defense instincts. At first, Thomas only knew of their existence through the large, deep footprints left on the wet ground around the farm after each rain. However, after a while, he realized that these two bears were very special, because they often helped to chase away the packs of wolves that roamed at night and disturbed his sheep. Every time he heard the echoing howls of wolves, the mother bear would appear, roaring in warning, making the wolves shiver and run away, while the baby bear would also make childish sounds to accompany her. Thomas gradually developed a deep respect for those two wild animals, because they had unintentionally helped him protect the peaceful farm. One early morning when the sun had just risen behind the distant mountains, Thomas was about to check on the dairy cows when he suddenly heard a growl coming from the barbed wire fence. He immediately stopped, his experienced ears realizing that this was not the sound of a wolf, nor the sound of a wild boar, but the tone of a bear. Feeling a little worried, Thomas slowly walked towards the source of the sound, ignoring the danger that might lie ahead. The closer he got, the more clearly he heard the groans mixed with gasps of pain and despair. What caught his eyes was a heart-wrenching sight. The mother bear was trapped in a tangle of barbed wire, her dark brown fur stained with blood. The twisted barbed wire tightly wrapped around the mother bear's shoulders and back, digging deep into her flesh and causing her to struggle helplessly. Right next to her, the baby bear was running around, growling weakly as if calling for someone to come save her, her eyes filled with indescribable fear and anxiety. The baby bear saw Thomas and immediately let out small groans, seemingly calling for help that it had always trusted in the man who had witnessed the kindness of its mother and cub. Thomas immediately understood that if he did not act quickly, the mother bear might lose too much blood and become exhausted to the point of not surviving. Without hesitation, he turned and ran back to the warehouse, hurriedly grabbing iron cutters, antiseptic, bandages, and some clean towels. Thomas's heart was filled with worry for the mother bear at that moment, regardless of the risk of being attacked if the bear became too painful and became aggressive. When he returned to the fence, he saw that the mother bear was still writhing, occasionally roaring loudly as she tried to escape the barbed wire's claws. Thomas tried to approach very slowly, raising his bare hands and speaking in a gentle voice to comfort her, even though he knew the bear did not understand human language, but he hoped that the friendly gesture would make her less frightened. The cub startled and took a few steps back, but his eyes did not leave Thomas, as if examining what he would do next. Realizing the cry for help in the cub's eyes, Thomas was even more determined to rescue the mother bear at all costs. He began to use pliers to cut the barbed wire wrapped tightly around her back. Each time the pliers tightened, the mother bear groaned in extreme pain. Sweat beaded on Thomas's forehead, his hands trembling for fear of causing the mother bear more pain, but he knew he had to persevere little by little. There was a section of wire that was so deeply embedded in the flesh that blood gushed out, forcing Thomas to stop, clean it, and temporarily disinfect it before daring to continue. The baby bear witnessed that scene, its eyes filled with sorrow, sometimes growling weakly as if wanting to encourage its mother. Finally, after much effort, Thomas was able to cut off all the barbed wire that was stuck in the mother bear's body, then used a clean towel to absorb the bleeding. The mother bear could now move, but was still trembling from blood loss and the pain that was etched into every muscle. Thomas gently used a water bottle to clean the wound, trying to remove the rusty pieces of iron and mud stuck to the torn area. The mother bear bared her fangs slightly in a defensive reflex, but immediately calmed down when she realized that Thomas did not harm her. The mother bear's groans were now less aggressive, replaced by a weak but seemingly more trusting sound. Thomas sprinkled antiseptic on the wound, feeling the mother bear shiver as the pain bit into her skin. The cub now gently approached, rubbing its head against Thomas's leg, as if to express the deepest gratitude it could express. The gentleness and intelligence of the cub moved Thomas. He remembered the times they had silently helped him chase away the wolves, his heart filled with an unusual love. To prevent the wound from becoming infected, Thomas used a temporary bandage, wrapping it around the most torn areas. When the last bandage was fixed, the mother bear moved her body slightly, as if testing whether the wound had been properly cared for. The mother bear's eyes showed fatigue but also a bit of relief, as if it knew that this farmer was sincerely saving it. It was noon, the sun was shining harshly on the field, Thomas was sweating profusely, his arms were limp from the tension and force used for too long. He suddenly realized that he needed to move the mother bear to a safe place, avoiding standing in the sun, which would exhaust her even more and could be sniffed out by the wolves. With many years of experience, Thomas called out softly, trying to guide the mother bear through the open gate next to the fence, where there were the least obstacles. The cub immediately ran after her, occasionally looking back at Thomas as if to make sure he was still with her. Thomas led them to an empty corner of the cage, which was originally where he temporarily kept the farming tools, now cleaned up into a resting place for the mother bear. In the corner of the cage, he spread a thick layer of straw, placed a basin of clean water, a bucket of fresh fish and some sweet fruit, hoping to help the mother bear regain her strength. The mother bear walked heavily into the straw nest, panting from exhaustion, while the cub walked around to sniff and check for safety. Thomas stood from afar, his eyes showing worry when he saw the mother bear bleeding and soaking the bandages, but first he let her stabilize the situation. When the mother bear sat down, he gently approached, checked the wound, changed the bandage and added a few drops of antiseptic. The baby bear leaned down and occasionally placed its wet nose on Thomas's hand, as if to say thank you. That night, Thomas stayed by her side, placing an old wooden chair and lighting a flickering oil lamp, so that he could keep an eye on her at any time. Many times the mother bear growled softly because of the pain that flared up. Thomas would soothe her with a warm voice and caring gestures. The baby bear curled up close to her, trying to warm her, her round eyes sparkling in the dark. For 3 days, Thomas changed the bandage, gave her mother clean water, occasionally added some berries and some honey he bought from a nearby farm. The wound on the mother bear's back gradually closed, the bleeding stopped, and the stiffness in her muscles also subsided. As time passed, the mother bear no longer growled when Thomas touched her, but instead seemed comfortable when he applied medicine and massaged the painful area. The baby bear also became bolder, increasingly trusting Thomas, sometimes even playing by rubbing its head against his feet. Many neighbors were frightened when they heard that there was a bear at Thomas's farm, but when they learned that he was treating the mother bear, they all expressed their admiration. A week later, the mother bear was able to slowly move around the corner of the cage, the wound closed, new fur began to grow, gradually covering the bear's skin. Every time Thomas brought food, the mother bear growled softly in greeting, and the cub wagged its cute ears, running to hug him. Thomas named the mother bear Brownie because of her dark brown fur, and the cub was affectionately called Coco. The bond between Thomas and the mother and cub surprised everyone in the area, because wild bears are rarely so friendly to humans. By the 10th day, Brownie was completely healthy, her fur had grown fully, her gait was more steady, and her eyes still contained a friendly yet wild look. Seeing that the mother bear had recovered, Thomas knew that they should return to the familiar forest, because wildlife was the instinct of bears. One clear morning, Brownie and Coco slowly walked out of the barn, walking around the farm as if saying goodbye for the last time. Thomas quietly followed them to the edge of the forest, his heart filled with both attachment and happiness when he saw that they were safe. Brownie turned his head and growled softly at Thomas, as if saying goodbye, and Coco also let out a few childish groans. Thomas waved his hand and watched the mother and baby bear gradually disappear behind the green canopy. Time passed and the farm returned to its normal rhythm, but Thomas never forgot the image of Brownie and Coco. His cattle still grazed peacefully, thanks to his increased patrols, but sometimes there was a lack of roars to suppress the wolves. Thomas kept a bucket of fruit at the corner of the fence, secretly hoping that one day the two bears would come back to visit him. Sure enough, not long after that, one afternoon when the sunset had dyed the distant mountains golden, Thomas heard a distinctive roar coming from the edge of the forest. He rushed out and saw Brownie standing next to Coco. The bear cub had grown much bigger, its fur was thicker and smoother than before. Thomas happily waved and ran closer, but still kept a distance enough so that they would not feel threatened. Brownie moved closer to Thomas, his eyes shining with trust, no longer shy like a wild animal. Coco ran around and then raised her nose to sniff Thomas's hand, her gesture extremely friendly and cheerful. From then on, the mother and cub occasionally visited the farm, especially at night, when the shadow of the wolf was lurking. Brownie and Coco seemed to continue their mission of chasing away predators, making Thomas's farm safer. Thomas, with his grateful heart, always prepared food and a basin of cool water to welcome them at any time. The presence of the mother and cubs made the quiet farm even more lively, as if nature and humans were one. Many other farmers in the area came to visit and watch the two bears, and were surprised by this warm relationship. They secretly admired Thomas's kindness, when he dared to face danger to save a wild bear, and then devoted himself to taking care of it. Thanks to Thomas's perseverance, Brownie recovered completely from his injuries and Coco had a safe environment to grow up. Sometimes when big storms came, Thomas worried about where the mother and cubs had taken refuge, but when the sky cleared, they appeared happily. Many people whispered to each other that Brownie and Coco sometimes considered Thomas as a member of the pack, because of their rare loyalty and trust. On the sunny and windy land of Montana, the story of Thomas and the two bears became a beautiful legend about humanity, about tolerance between seemingly strange creatures. And since then, every afternoon, if you look towards the edge of the forest, you can see the silhouettes of the silver-haired farmer and the mother and child brown bears, together continuing to write a harmonious song in the wilderness. Dear friend, thank you for taking the time to follow the story. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to support us.